Hey, everybody. It's your girl Jeanette Bradley here in Tampa. And tonight we have, I think, maybe our seventh or eighth What is the Ask? And What is the Ask is just four, five friends coming together every other week and just talking about issues that are important to Black people, especially issues that surround the vote, how we vote, and what we get for our vote. So, what is the ask or what is the demand is really talking about voting, voting as a block with power, getting something in return. So tonight is Georgia. It's all about Georgia. So we're going to talk about the election because as we talk right now, as I'm talking right now, Georgia is counting up the votes. The polls closed about, I guess, what is that, about 30 minutes ago? And we're just really looking forward to seeing how well it turns out for Black interests. So tonight we are going to talk about the Herschel Walker effect, is what I want to call it. Whether he wins or loses, there's a Herschel Walker effect that certainly we need to be paying attention to as African Americans in this country. But before we get to that, I'm going to pull in the panel tonight. Tonight we have Mona Judge from Tampa. So, hey, Mona, how are you tonight?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Good, good, good. And so that's Mona from Tampa. Me and Mona will be representing Tampa tonight. And tonight we've got my good friend Alton Drew. Hey, Alton, what's up?
Good evening, Mona, Jeanette. Good to see y'all.
Well, really good to see you. Holding it up in Atlanta. So Alton's coming to us right out of Atlanta where the action is tonight.
Yeah, I'm already seeing people dressed as if they're going to a victory party. Whose victory
Ooh,
party, we
let's.
don't know yet, but I think it's going to be Warnock.
All right. Well, coming from you, because to me, you're so pessimistic about it sometimes. So if you're saying you think it's going to be Warnock, I'm going with that. But before we get to that, and we'll keep our eye on what's going on, and when they do that check mark next to Warnock, we will certainly tune in. But you wrote a book.
Yes, I wrote a
What?
book, um, Take It From a Black Man, WASP Need to Take Their Country Back. It's a collection of blog posts. I call it a long essay, but it's really a collection of blog posts that I put out over the past couple years. I've been blogging constantly now for the past 12. So I figured, well, I've got some content. Let me put it together. Um, the book focuses on the narrative, capital, and democracy. Those are the three main categories. Again, political narrative, capital, and democracy. Um, Especially with what's been happening now for the past 2 years, given the increased talk about reparations and and kind of looking forward to 2024. Even though at the time I wrote it, I probably had more of a look toward 2022 and what that meant for 2024. But again, it's just a collection of blog posts. My background, I've been in government, well, had a government career of almost 20 years on the state and local level, and in different states, Maryland, Georgia, Florida. So I thought I'd bring some of that perspective from my blogs and just put it into put it into a book. It's a short read, 87 pages. You can find it on Amazon, and hopefully by the end of the month, I'll have a print version out, if not sooner. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. I've been wanting to write a book for mm, 15, 20 years. So I said, now is better than no time. So it's out there. end. Our producers put up the cover. Right now, it looks like I have the stage all to myself. Ah, here we go. Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Somebody tried to call me from one of my classes, and
Okay.
I need to kind of let them know. But so these are essays you've been writing for the last 2 years. So you've been
Yes.
writing this book really for 2 years, not knowing it was going to end up as a book.
Right.
But
Right.
as I look at the various topics, they are relevant to what we're experiencing right now. These are things that we need to know now,
Yes.
especially as we go into 23 and 24, as you've just stated.
Yes.
I love it.
Um,
I love
mhm.
it.
Yeah, I every well, when the midterms were what, November 8th, so the silly season for 2024 started the day after. So
Uh-huh.
I think that, overall, the major one part of education is understanding the process and the seasons, if you will. And we're in the
Mhm.
2024 season now. And tonight's race, I told a friend of mine via Facebook that um, tonight, at least in my opinion, Georgia really is not in play anymore. Um,
Okay.
the
Georgia's
Democrats,
not in play.
right?
What do you
The
mean
Democrats,
Georgia's not in play?
the Democrats have the
Mean
Senate.
that we,
Yeah, the Democrats
but
have
we
the Senate.
still need, but in my opinion, we still need a Democrat in that seat. Uh, just
Yeah,
for logistics, just for they won't be able to put certain things in law. But Elsa, let me ask you this: how did you come up with the title? I like that title.
why did I come up with that
Okay,
title?
so you're still breaking. I'm sorry because I want you to finish, but you're still breaking up, Mona. So it's kind of hard for us to
Okay.
really decipher what you're saying. And Georgia's not really in play. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, just from a control of the Senate standpoint, um, Kamala Harris can still break any vote. However, given whether it's 50-50 or whether it's 50-50 or 51-49, I think in the Senate you still have to be wary as to the legislation that you bring to the floor and whether or not it can pass, because you still got moderates in the Senate. Susan Collins, for example, has shown that when she's in the mood, she'll either vote with the Democrats or get the GOP to soften and bring some members of her party to the middle, or in their case, to the left. So when you've
Yeah.
got that kind of margin, and then with the quid pro quo that plays in the Senate, you know, someone on the Democrat side made the GOP a favor. We don't know what that favor
Okay.
is, because those decisions are made
Yeah.
in the back. Now, of course, if the Democrats had a 62 to what is it, 38, majority, they could care less. They run the Senate. But something that tight,
Exactly.
something that margin that tight, man. But so that's what I mean by Georgia really is no longer in play. They could put a Republican in there, it'd be the same scenario. They could put a Democrat in
Yeah.
there, it's the same scenario. And one other thing I'd like people to understand is that,
Well,
go ahead, I'm
before
sorry.
you do that, before you do that, or go that path, because I really want to hear what you're saying. But I think that gets into the discussion around there's feedback. Mona, can you it may be me, but I'm trying to figure out where the feedback's coming from. Can you mute? Testing, testing, testing. So that's actually better.
Hmm.
Uh, So let's try to figure out, Mona, what's going on there, because I don't know. But to your point, Sydney, if you can bring up the book, because I want to close that out to make sure people know. It's a short read. It's what, 89 pages. It's a series of essays on some key things we need to pay attention to. If blacks absolutely need to get together. We need to start thinking from an economic standpoint. We need to understand democracy and what that actually means for us.
Mm-hmm.
Since, in my opinion, and Alton, this is me. We're the ones who've been keeping it afloat for the last, I don't know, 100 something years anyway.
Mm.
If it weren't for black folks, democracy would have been gone a long time ago. But we're the ones that are fighting, trying to get this country to do right by people like us.
Mm-hmm.
But to the audience, to the listening audience, this is a book that I think perhaps we should all read. Even if you struggle with and don't understand economics right now, take some time and let's develop a language
Mm-hmm.
from which we can move forward. And when I saw the book, and it's just, by the way, it's just $5 on Amazon. Download it, take it anywhere on your phone and whatever else. It'll be hard copy at some point, Mona, because
Yes.
Mona likes to buy stuff and give them
Okay.
away as gifts and all that other stuff. So that's what Mona does. She supports
Okay.
any and everybody. So as soon as you get that in hard copy, she's right there.
All right.
But it is definitely right now available ebook. I have it here.
Oh,
I kind of went through the titles earlier last week and again today. I love it, and keep on writing, brother. Keep on writing, because
thank you.
I do believe we absolutely need to develop. Um, what I like about it is that it's short. We ain't
Yeah.
got time to read no 500-page book.
Right. Yeah. I am not Thomas Piketty. I mean, I've got his book.
Oh,
That was 8 years ago, and I'm over only to page 156, and I don't know how I got there. I'm like, what? There's 600 more pages to go. I can't handle this. And I'm an economics
yes,
major. I'm like, what? This guy. I mean, it's, but
truly,
yeah,
truly.
that and that's how I write. I mean, I think Twitter and blogs were created for me because I can just get a thought out there
Yeah,
and not yeah, most times you want some data in there, but you don't want to bore people with it.
overdo it.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
And but when you're speaking
Um,
of economics and the main reason, again, this is from 2 years now, and I mentioned 2 years because I started looking at foreign currency and the banking system and the central banking system, and I'm like, okay, I'm an econ major. I kind of understand it. I taught this stuff in community college, but let me look at it again. And all I'll say is that if you're in college right now, God bless you, but they're teaching you a bunch of crap. There's nothing in those econ books that makes sense in the real world. You really
yeah.
have to look at these institutions, learn their rules so you can find out how they operate and then how it impacts me. And that should be the question. But that was the impetus to go ahead and put this together and try to
Yeah.
make some sense of the world and also the three categories. There's no separation between economics and politics, none. And
Yeah.
that's another mistake.
Right.
There's no
That's
separation. You have got to understand both. In the olden Western European days, there was no economics and political science. It was all political economy, because even those guys knew for Westerners, and probably other cultures get it, that the politics with a small p and the economics, they work hand in hand. So
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, just really good. The crypto digital world finds the fiat currency worthless. You talk about what the dollar being it's just really good subject matter. So go on Amazon, $5, folks, download it and begin developing that lexicon, that thing that we need to do so that we can start having conversations and really moving our agendas forward. The title of the book, um, Take It from Black Man, WASP Need to Take Back Their Country. I don't know where you get that title from, but Mona said she really
I,
liked it when she read it last year. Mona,
well,
you got any comments before we move on?
No, I haven't had a chance to read it, but I did want to know, how did he come up with the title?
Yes.
Interesting title.
Yeah. It was for a blog post that I wrote um, about maybe earlier this year, and it comes from our need for independence from this system. I mean, we hear a lot. Well, on the far right, the white right is, we're taking our country back, and I think there's a lot of meaning under that. We react to what we hear on the surface, but there's some other stuff going on there. And then we've got our folk with we built this country, so we need to integrate into it. And my take is, you know, you can look at their history and tell they came here with a philosophy and an intent that we did not. And they've been expressing that they don't want anybody here. And I think it's time for black people to call their bluff and say, okay, fine, we're going our own way. However, that own way is carried out. Whether we use technology, alternative currency, how we trade with each other, I don't know. I don't have any specific answers yet. Just throwing that out there. But to tell them, okay, we really don't need you. Going back to Jeanette's earlier point, you need us more than we need you. And when
Mm-hmm.
we can express that alone increases our power 100%. Just to have the nerve to not only say it but to act like that. So yes, well, yeah, go ahead, take your country back. Knock yourself out. Let's see what you're gonna do for me. We call you bluff. Meanwhile, we're
Mm.
doing our thing. So that was behind it. And and yes, I'd used that. I wrote a post, had that title. So I'm going back over all my content. I'm like, what am I going to name this book? And I said, I like that. That's provocative. So
Very.
Yes.
that was the
Yeah.
other reason why I used it. So
Yeah,
I
I like
think,
it. I like it as
Very
well. I
provocative.
say very interesting. Yes.
thank you.
All right. So we
Congrats.
still get that feedback from you. We're still getting that
I don't
feedback
know.
from you, Mona. So
I
you
don't know
can
if
kind of come. I don't know how to advise you. But I would mute, and then when you want to talk, just open it up, and we'll hear it and say, "Hey, Mona, go ahead and certainly share." Anyway, congratulations on that book, Alton.
Thank you.
Um, a lot of us all say, "Hey, I'm out to write a book," or "I'm going to write a book," and some do, but for such a time as this, when I saw the book and I looked at the subject matter, the titles, the sections, I thought it was a very timely book and definitely one that I'm going to read. And again, keep doing it. Keep blogging, if you will, and creating these themes that become books that our people and then our children can read, and who knows where that takes us in this next iteration. It's still too early to call, by the way, guys, because I'm kind
Yeah.
of keeping my eye on it. But I'm gonna move on. This Herschel Walker thing
Mm.
has really bothered me. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it has really bugged me that Herschel Walker, no matter what he says, what he does, what gets uncovered, um, a large percentage of the white population is voting for him.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, although I understand their motivation to win that seat,
Yes.
I can't, I can't seem I can't rest with them using a black body,
Mm-hmm.
one that is, I'm not going to completely say he's illiterate, but pretty darn close. He's using one of our weaker minded black bodies
Mm-hmm.
for power, for power.
Yes.
And that's a recurring theme, in my opinion, from the very beginning, and it's 2022, and we're just watching it.
Yeah. Um, One, there's the low hanging fruit of the partisanship. Right? The just the closeness of this election reflects um,
It's
how
crazy.
well the Democrats, yes, have targeted the urban areas because Warnock's going to take Metro Atlanta, Savannah, maybe Albany, maybe Columbus. He does that, he should make 51%. What what gets me though is that yeah, people are asking outside of Georgia, well, why would y'all vote for Herschel? Mike, I'd flip and ask, well, why is it that Warnock couldn't put this guy away? That's to me is the question. Why can't you, a man who is a master of the performative, he is a preacher, well educated, well spoken, well dressed, relatively young, looks fit. I mean, he has all you need for the camera.
Yeah.
Why you can't put this guy away? Now, I think it's a combination of maybe Walker's funding is probably well targeted such that the people on the ground can spin a narrative about him that gets them to the polls to vote for him. That's the background game that we're not seeing. Um, that's right now. That's the only way that because you can't really scream racism. It's two black guys done on any
No,
given
no,
day.
no.
Yeah, you can't scream that. So, but to Jeanette's point, why?
I'm
Why
screaming
is why
racism.
you are?
I
Well,
I am screaming racism.
well, how is it?
I am screaming. Well, especially when that one I guess newscast I watched, Cruz on one shoulder and Lindsay on another, and
Oh,
he was
yeah,
sitting in the middle, and I thought, oh
yes,
my God,
yes,
the masses are
yes,
keeping the overseer that they chose to sort of stay in line, and he's going to be
yes.
yasum yasum whatever they say. That's what I saw. I
Mm-hmm.
think what they're doing, Alton,
Mm-hmm.
is racism. It is racist.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way there's any, I mean, have you seen Tim Scott come and speak for this man?
No, and he
Tim
won't.
Scott.
Tim Scott,
No, of course.
he will not
Because we
because he
know
got,
better.
yeah, he has a line that he's not gonna
We
cross.
correct.
Right,
You've got the black intelligentsia within the Republican Party that are not coming to this man's rescue.
right.
That is very telling to me that they even know what is happening with this man. And to
Mm-hmm.
me, it is highly insulting to the
Mm-hmm.
black race. Come on, Mona, I know you got something on this.
But what do you say about the black Republicans who wouldn't put a stop to this? What do you say about them?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that since the beginning, there were house niggas and field niggas, excuse me. And there were, and I'm not saying that just because you were in the house, you were all for, because they even sold out their masters sometimes, what have you. But there were those who got those little trinkets, who got those little niceties, those little extras, and sold out their brothers in insurrections and whatever else that might have been planned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those people still exist today,
Mm-hmm.
and I truly believe that what is it, 6 or 8% that vote Republican religiously
Mm-hmm.
are those folks who are getting something, the little trinkets, even Kanye and all of them, they're getting something that they're ready to sell the rest of us out so that they can move forward in the world. That's been happening back in slavery days. And the white man has strategically and been very smart about how he uses us against each other. And that's what I see is happening right here. So when Tim Scott doesn't rescue, it's probably a line gone too far.
Hmm.
But it's not enough that he says, I'm out. All of them. They're not going to say you're out. They're just going to hold
They
their
don't,
nose.
they don't
Go
necessarily
ahead.
have to be out. They don't necessarily have to be out, but they could have said to the party, this isn't going to work. We cannot
They're
do
not
this.
going to say
We
it.
have to pick someone, we have to pick someone else. I would expect someone like him to do that. Because at certain levels, I do respect them. They don't necessarily. I
Okay,
just
you know
like,
we're working really hard to hear you because we can't hear you. Uh, Alton, can you hear
okay,
her?
I'm gonna, I'm gonna listen today.
But I need to hear you talk. But okay, um,
I'm gonna listen.
maybe when you slow it down when you're talking because it seems that seems to help. Slow.
So no, I was saying that I do know a few Republicans who really believe in that system, and um, until Trump probably got in. Okay, so I would have thought that someone like him could have gone, and they kind of respect him in the party. If he would have
Uh
went
huh.
and said, "It's still hard."
No, it's a little better actually.
Okay,
Yeah,
You
yeah, it
see?
is better.
so if he would have went and said, "I can't allow you to do this to my brother,"
Mm.
that's what I would expect for him, because they're doing an experiment on him. They're doing a live experiment on him.
Yes,
That's
yes,
right.
and that's the key word, a live experiment, because
I love
It's,
it. That I couldn't
yeah,
have thought of a better phrase.
yeah, because it's like a military tactic. Let's throw somebody out there to test their defenses, and then we're going to take notes. Now, the downside is, well, you're wasting an opportunity to win a seat, because then you have another 6 years before you try and win that seat back. What are you testing for? You see? And I don't see what kind of information they are getting back from this experiment other than Warnock is a weak candidate. But that's a lot of money to expend to say he's a weak candidate.
Well, that's true, but you guys are talking as if the Republican Party had the control. They didn't. They never would have picked um, Walker. They never would have chosen Walker.
Okay, you're
Trump
talking
chose
the national,
Walker.
you're talking about the national party.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So what are we talking about? Then I must have missed something.
No, I was actually I was talking about the state party, and that's
Okay.
what and that's why I'm still miffed that even if that was their intent or their strategy, it makes no sense, because you lose that seat, it's in the Democrats' hands for 6 years. Um,
Yes.
so what you're telling me, you're planning for 2028? I mean, that is that's two way off for me. I'm not worried about 2028. You shouldn't be worried about 2028. You should be worried about winning this seat now. And I find it hard to believe that that they couldn't find another. Well, yeah, I find it hard to believe they couldn't find another candidate to run against him. I mean, are they all out of Republicans? I mean, they could have gone into the General Assembly and found someone to run against Warnock. But that's the other piece of
but,
information we're also getting, is that
But they would
but what
have. They would have.
the veteran said, Trump picked him, and they're afraid of Trump, and they're going to let Trump
That's it.
destroy their party.
yeah, well, and that's
Trump.
very likely. But Brian Kemp showed them that was a big mistake,
Yes. That
because
is
Trump
true.
didn't
That is
back
true.
Kemp.
But
Kemp went beyond expectations. People are looking at, first he went in there with a 7 point lead. He won with an 8 point lead, And now he's comfortable. He's in his last term, and he doesn't have to worry about Donald Trump. So if
True.
that's what the state GOP was thinking, that was a huge mistake. It was time for them
Yes.
to break with Trump. If that was their logic, you know, if that was their logic, it was flawed. And then on top of that, somebody had to have the kahunas to tell Trump, look, Herschel Walker cannot beat Warnock. It's going to look stupid. You're going to make us look stupid. We're going to be the laughing stock, not only of the
Right.
GOP, but
Um,
the country.
but once again, you guys are talking as if the Republicans in the last 6 years, and I would go with 5 years because that year of the primary, the first primary, and Trump was picking them off one by one.
Right.
They actually thought they could control Trump, and then they found out shortly thereafter you cannot control Trump. To this very day, they cannot control Trump. So they don't have the kahunas. When your leadership doesn't have the, balls to tell you, what you need to know,
Mm-hmm.
because they're afraid they're going to get primaried or twittered out of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The Republican Party has been destroyed, and to this day, I don't understand how they're going to pull it together. I really don't see it
Mm-hmm.
because Trump will tear it down before he allows them to push him out. I believe he will take that. Let's say it whittles down to 20%. He will take that 20% and try to run his own party, but those people will not vote with the Republican Party. Then what do they have? You
Mm-hmm.
take 20% out of their 48, 49, 50%, they don't have anything.
Well,
That's what they're afraid of. And Trump knows it. One more point.
mm-hmm.
So Trump sits down and has dinner with Kanye and Fuentes. Everybody's like, oh my God, da 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 da. Trump knew exactly what he was doing. He has to take that group, the alt right, the fringes, and
Mm-hmm.
he has to keep that 20, 15, 20% loyal to him.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can do that, there's no way, because the Republicans have relied on, toyed with these people for decades and never really gave them anything.
Right.
Trump has figured that out, and he keeps them in his coffers. So he has to do something very public to show them, I am with you. And he did that. So they can't get rid of him without getting rid of a good percentage of their voting electorate.
Right.
That is the problem.
Mm.
That's the problem.
Yeah, it's
And he
kind of,
knows it.
yeah. Well, speaking objectively, outside looking in, it's a smart move on his part.
Absolutely.
Very smart move. I mean, he maintains control of the party without ever having to set foot again in DC.
He,
And
he,
he effectively is saying that the U.S. has a three-party system. Again,
yeah,
you got a party inside a party, and I'm doing what the Democrats can't do because the Democrats have, different wings in the party,
that is correct.
but they don't have that strong man with that. Yeah, Trump has a proletariat guard. Okay, like Iran and Iraq, they got their proletariats, and then they got the regular army. That's what Trump has.
Yes, he does.
The Democrats don't have that because, and I don't think this is just coming to me, and they probably haven't given it any thought, but they so believe in their big tents, everybody included stuff that they're afraid to offend people in there who need to be offended. So you're
That's
not going to have a
right.
strong man. They don't have anybody in their party that can do that. They don't have any. They don't
Yeah,
have, for example, like Trump. To your point, the alt. Yes, got the alt right. Trump can manipulate that wing of the party, but they don't have one single person in the Democratic Party who can manipulate the progressives. They're all over the place. They would be they would be equal to the progressives, would be equal to the GOP's alt right, but they can't get their stuff together because they're all over the
That's
place.
right. That's right.
Now, how that impacts them in 2024, I don't know. It's still going to boil down to for the presidential if they can run a strong candidate against whoever the Republicans run. So that's still up in the air, but we're going to find out in next 3 to 4 months. 2023 is when people start shopping for money. They're putting out their exploratory committees, all that stuff. It's going to be happening in
But
2023.
Alton, don't you think well Trump is in the driver's seat? It feels like we're saying Trump is in the driver's seat, and
His car is the only
so
one that's rolling.
exactly. And so the people with the money who might say they want to support Trump Jr. I hate to even say DeSantis's name, but DeSantis.
Hmm.
Um, they realize that Trump has carved out this piece that they must have.
Hmm.
They must have it. So they've got to figure out how to placate him to some extent.
Hmm.
And I don't see it happening. I don't know how that's gonna. I don't know how that's gonna work out. So they're waiting for the Democrats. Let's say all of these hearings, and they're waiting. They're waiting for the Democrats to go get him because they don't have a weapon. They don't have a bullet in their gun. They have no way, and they need to be able to point to somebody else that did it because they still have to keep that base, and they can't be the ones who pull the trigger. It has to be the Democrats that do it, and that's what they're waiting for. So last
Democrats,
point, and I see you want to say something. Go ahead.
the Democrats never will prosecute him. He's never going to get prosecuted under the leadership of the Democrat. They're too afraid. You think January the 6th was something? Put him in jail and see what happens.
Exactly. I agree
The
on
country will have
50%.
war. We'll have it's never going to happen.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
don't know how people have to die for the country to come back together. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, and I like that
I
point
agree with you.
because yeah, if for the Democrats to go after Trump would be a huge mistake. I mean, those cousins, I'll be nice tonight, getting their trucks up in Dalton, and they'll be rolling into Atlanta, and then they're gonna roll up to DC. There's gonna be civil war. They don't want to go after this guy. They don't want to prosecute him. I'll take off my lawyer hat, and I just hope that any trial out there against Trump is dismissed. Not because I think he's right. See, that's an athlete. That's an All-American. She grabbed it. But they don't want Trump. They don't want to go after Trump because the reaction. That's the last thing I want to see. I don't want to see that. I don't know. It'd be a bad move. However, the Democrats need Trump out there to go after, and that's part of their problem. They have shrunk their campaign efforts just to taking out one guy. It's like on YouTube, you got all these brothers and sisters out there saying, "Yeah, we defeated Trump in 2020. Now we need to put." I'm like, I roll my eyes, I put it on mute till it's done, because if Trump is your only reason for being, you're proving to people that this electoral process is really just a clown show or some kind of Star Wars movie where Trump is Darth Vader and you gotta go there and stop this one guy. I'm like, no, come on. Suppose he said that he's not running. Something worse could be coming from the Republicans, and by worse I mean someone who can actually put together a campaign and win on policy.
He's here in Florida. DeSantis is really bad. and he won't run against Trump. And I'm kind of quoting something somebody else says, and I certainly agree with it. He will not run against Trump because Trump will skewer him, and DeSantis is awkward. He doesn't really know how to have a comeback
Mm-hmm.
and be smooth, and he doesn't know how to talk to people. All of those things that Trump is able to do, he's
Right.
really not able to do.
Interesting.
Um, but he can be mean and hateful in terms of with the policy. I mean, the guy's got a trifecta here in the state of Florida. He's got the Senate, he's got the House, he's got everything, right?
Right.
So he can whatever his base wants, he can make it happen, and he
Mm.
does, and they
Right.
love him. And then he gets in front of the TV screen and he talks about it. So that storm we had, I don't call it a storm, but that he loved it. He
Right.
got in front of that television screen and talked about how he was going to build up those shoreside communities, and they loved it. And he got right into the house. So Trump Jr. is waiting in the wings. He will not cross Trump because he
Mm-hmm.
won't even say anything about the stupid stuff Trump is doing. But
Mm-hmm.
he's waiting in the wings for the Democrats to do whatever they're going to do. And I heard what you guys said about Democrats are too afraid. Um, what do you think? This is my question now about Jack Smith. What is Jack Smith's role?
I'm not familiar with him.
Jack Smith is the yeah, I want to call him Jack Ryan for I guess some
Right.
character in some kind of novel, but Jack Smith is the attorney, I guess, that is going to that Merrick Garland appointed to go after Trump.
Special counsel. Okay.
Yes, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and he is supposed to be the real deal.
Okay. Well,
How many have we had before when they tried to impeach him twice? They've had the real deal. They tried to impeach him twice when he was president.
mm-hmm.
Nothing stuck.
Right.
It's not going to happen. I just strongly believe it's not going to. They're wasting a lot of money and time.
Yeah. Yeah. Without looking at the potential charges, um, I have to tend toward Mona's point for now because yeah, they went after him twice, and even during the impeachment, you know, again, our friends are screaming, "Oh, Trump's a crook. He's a criminal." Blah blah. And it's like, well, what federal statute did he violate? Um, um. So nobody could ever give me an answer. So I say that to say, whoever Jack Smith is, he needs to come up with he needs to come up with something, charges more specific, defined that are provable to
Yeah, I think
persuade
that's
me.
that's I think that's the job
Yeah, but the
description, if
amount of
you will.
money and time he's gonna spend trying to do that, and you've got this alleged this record that you developed after two impeachments. If it takes you, and then you're spending time going after a guy who's no longer in office. If it takes you more than 2 months to bring charges, I'm saying you're wasting time. And I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
I don't. But it goes to an earlier point we are making too. Okay, you got a special counsel and you're going to use the media to really hype it up, you're going to get the right ticked off. And if the special counsel doesn't find anything, the right is going to really be ticked off. I mean, this is a political move, and they got to take Trump out before, in my estimation, they got to take him out of play by August of 2023. They got to take him out of play because this is why you're doing it. Is to take him out of play. You don't want him running. The Democrats haven't even shown me that they believe they can beat him unless they try to throw him in jail. So if that's your tactic, you got a window that's closing real fast. And in my humble opinion, and the majority can differ, you have until the end of the summer 2023. because that's when campaign season will be really hyped. Your primary should be out of the way. Really, you have until the end of maybe, well, I'm sorry, your debate season should be out of the way. So you really have until the end of June to get Trump out of the way with your special counsel. The window is
So
closing.
when you say get him out of the way,
Yeah, I mean, find some,
what are we talking about?
find some charges that stick and drag him into a court where they can
Well,
say,
I think that's what's happening. And to your point of he's been impeached twice, that was political, and
yeah, and this
that
still
was
is.
it is still it is, but it's changing. And I think one of the reasons that we're seeing his taxes, one of the reasons that we are beginning to see Cannon, that stupid um, attorney who said, "Hey, you know what? You can't do that," or whatever she did to delay the FBI doing their job.
Mhm,
All of that stuff is crumbling now.
mhm,
Now it's crumbling, and he doesn't have those protections
mhm,
because the people with money want him out of the way. So
mhm,
they're not putting those protections in place, and suddenly we're getting the ammunition we need, Democrats, to now go after him.
mhm,
Before he didn't have it because they were protecting him. The
mhm,
protections are starting to dwindle, which
mhm.
is positioning the Democrats where they will likely be able to do something this time.
Okay.
For those impeachments, the protections were in place,
Mhm,
and Mitch McConnell and McCarthy and all of them were told, don't touch it, right?
mhm. Well, I don't think.
Whoever that
Yeah,
cabal is now saying we want him out of the way so we can get our money to somebody else.
right.
And so
And
he's losing the protections, but they
mhm,
have to be careful about it because, and he knows this. And then back to my point, so he knows the only thing he has are those crazy people on the right that are willing to go and hit somebody in the head with a hammer, if you know what I'm saying. So if he's got the crazies who are 15-20% of the voting electorate for the Republicans, that is all he has left. That
mhm,
is it.
mhm.
So we're seeing a real serious game of chess going on. And I think the Civil War really is happening, but it's happening within the Republican Party. And you almost have to pay attention because they are the king is in trouble.
Yeah,
He really is because they're coming for him. They are, and they're going to use the Democrats as the ones who pull the trigger. But they're
mhm.
going to allow, they're going to take all the shields out of the way so that it happens. So at this point, I believe that something is going to happen where that man is not going to be able to run. They
Yeah,
want to point to the Democrats because they need that base to vote with them in that next general election. That's what I see.
yeah. I yeah. When I step back, I still have to. I still have to ask myself, okay, what would an how would an independent voter look at all of this? Because if I'm an independent, which technically I am, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, what is the ask? Well, what is the why?
Good
Be-
one.
yeah, he, why go after this guy? You're really, again, if you're focusing on one dude, who and to all the listeners out there, Donald Trump doesn't have that kind of juice. The media just makes him look that way, so you need to really ignore him. But when you pay that much attention to a guy who really, in the universal scope of things, does not have that much juice, you're telling me that Democrats that you don't have much to run on yourself. You're not offering me anything. So you get him. Let's say you get him. Your special counsel finds enough to have criminal charges, and you drag him into the either the district court down in Florida, the district court in D.C. And let's go all the way. The circuit court, my court's right. The district court says you're guilty of all these crimes. You're going to jail. And he appeals to whatever appellate court. They say you're guilty. And he goes away. And the Democrats are like, yeah, the wicked witch is dead. I'm an independent court. I'm like, okay. Now what are you going to do for me? You took care of your ego. You got rid of Trump. Good for you. This political warfare will go down in the history books because it's going to be in a court report or somewhere. It'll be written and talked about for the next 50 years. My grandchildren will be reading about it. But so what? And that's my thing, is the so what. Yeah, I can see the drama, but this drama is a distraction. It's a distraction. So, and once you know it's a distraction, then you have to peel the onion, go behind the green curtain, and find out, well, what are the real actions that are being taken? What's the real end game? And putting Trump in jail is no end game, is not an end game for me. And lastly, I'll take it to a bigger, another level. You have the government, you have the politicians. They have a road show to perform. Then you have the state. Okay, the state of Georgia and the state of Florida. The state. This network that sets the philosophy and narrative for this country, that is predatory, that lives off of us. Okay, what do they want? All right, getting rid of Trump doesn't serve their needs, so they're not going to finance it. They're not going to step in. They'll let it play out. It's like the gods sitting up on Mount Olympus watching the humans have fun. They're going to say, let it play out until something happens that interferes with our network. So if Trump is gone, the banking system's happy. The bankers never liked him. You got a lot of people who don't like him. New York City don't
That's
like
true.
him. Queens
That's
don't
true.
like him. When he went across to Manhattan, they were like, bye, don't come back. Nobody likes him.
That's true.
So,
Yeah,
so
nobody
again,
likes him.
nobody likes him. So yeah, he's gone. He goes to jail or whatever. But the Democrats will then have to answer that question of who are we? We're AOC and Ariana Presley on one side. We're Pelosi, who's finally leaving, and Steny Hoyer on the other side. We don't know. We don't know who we are. And that's what the independents are going to be looking at. When the fringes, calm down, the independents are going to be like, well, that's a really great show. It's almost as good as a Good Wife rerun. But
Yeah.
in the end, and the Democrats need to remember that every move they make is supposed to win votes. They will maintain their base if they get rid of Trump. No doubt about it. They'll get some people excited. You finally did something. But will it win you votes for 2024? So Biden, I guess Biden's the one who selected this. Well, Gerald, what's his name? The Attorney General. That's
So
nice.
so well, actually Merrick Garland.
Merrick
Well, I
Garland,
don't
yeah.
know. He's the one. So I'm interesting. Just really interesting because it's kind of like the distraction when you say, well, we got to be careful. It's all a distraction, and
Hmm.
what is really at play here? What's going on? What are those powerful people doing that we don't see?
Right.
I would like to say that the powerful people have always been there, and they've been manipulating
Hmm.
behind the scenes.
Oh, you
I
sound like
think
a
that
deep stater. I love it. You
all
just
right.
you
So
just this
let
you
me
just
just
defined the deep state.
so
What's you?
right. So the problem that they have in the 21st century is the internets. And I said that like that on
Yes, I
purpose,
guess
but
the bullshit. Yeah.
that's the problem is the internet
Yes.
and the fact that we are inundated with information on a 24/7 cycle,
Hmm.
and it's harder to be invisible. It's harder for them to move around without us getting a peek here and there and
Right.
seeing and connecting dots enough to say, oh no, I'm not going to be Democrat, I'm not going to be Republican, I'm going to be somewhere here in the middle. Oh, I can be an independent. I think because of the Trump factor, a lot of those independents are right now Republican leaning because they can't be they don't want to be a Republican, and so they and that happened during the Clinton administration that the independents were more Democrat leaning
Yeah.
when when Clinton did all that other stuff. So independents go in and
Mm-hmm.
out, and it just depends on how bad the party is messing up either of them that will kind of dictate what is going on in the independent party.
Right.
If we pay attention to what is the underlying motivation, I think I'm trying to go where you are, Alden. And if we're looking at 400 years and the last, let's say, 100 and some odd years since Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
and the keeping Black folks at the bottom of the racial hierarchy
Mm-hmm.
in ways that are pretty obvious, and
Mm-hmm.
yet nobody is really doing anything about it because a few of us get the trinkets and we're like, you know, I'm good. Yeah, it's just sports and entertainment, but look, I'm rich. Too bad for everybody else. Get yourself, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, if you will. If the motivation is to maintain that hierarchy where you got your wasps at the top and your
Yes.
Black slaves really sentence at the very very bottom,
Mm-hmm.
then and we're watching because we got the census data and we're watching white people decline the
Yeah,
numbers.
the
If we're
population.
watching that happen
Mm-hmm.
and white women aren't having babies, they're aborting them, and they're working and whatever else, so they're not, you know, keeping up with all these immigrants,
Mm-hmm.
Black and brown people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
My motivation is the same as it was from the beginning when they had all the poor people, they separated us and said, you white people, you're going to be you got white skin, so you're going to be over those Black people because we got to figure out how to make sure they are mad at each other so that we can stay in power, and we're going to use them to keep us in power. They are doing the exact same thing
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
You Black folks are way too educated, your children are way too educated, and our kids are declining, and our kids aren't even thinking about being different. In fact, they're marrying you. We are losing
Mm-hmm.
what we believe America is about. So the
Yes.
underlying motivation, because they are losing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why we
is
have to win
to
the country back.
create policies
Mm-hmm.
apartheid like,
Yes.
right? And they got to do it fast. They have to do it in these next two election cycles where they're locking in policies
Mm-hmm.
that will never allow you Black folks in particular, even though you're not going to be, you're still going to be 12, 13% of the population. You're going to
Right.
be the most educated, especially with those Nigerians and Caribbeans coming in with these, getting
Caribbean
these great
them.
degrees.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I said the Caribbean
You're
them.
going to
That's just my
say it
accent.
again?
I said all the Caribbean them that come in here.
Yeah. What? But especially with these Black folks coming in, becoming the most educated,
Right.
that is dangerous for the
Yes.
future of their ancestors, and
Yes.
they must put a stop to it now. So
Right.
you're right, distraction,
Right.
but they are moving towards something here that if we don't stop it, and going back to the Herschel Walker factor, if
Mm-hmm.
we don't stop it,
Mm-hmm.
our children are going to be second class citizens in a very apartheid like existence, and that makes absolutely no sense.
And first of
That's
all,
my
yes,
thought.
no, yes, 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 because in a predatory scheme, you're always thinking about Yes, maintaining your top position while while making sure you have enough on the bottom to feed off of.
Yes.
So the Democrats, their job is, I know we run out of time, their job is to maintain the distraction with the, oh, we're on the same boat, DEI, here's some UBI for you worthless Negroes so you can still eat.
Yeah.
And see what we're doing for you
Absolutely.
people? Come out and vote for
Yeah.
us. The Republicans are about maintaining an electoral system that keeps
I,
power compartmentalized, keeps you on the bottom,
yes.
whether redistricting, maintaining the electoral college, or the Negroes moving to states where their votes don't count. Yeah, go right ahead, move over in there. That's their job.
Yeah.
That the cynics
Yeah.
will tell you two sides of the same coin, but
Yeah.
they're really a part of the same strategy. Different tactics that look up like they're in opposition, but they're not. It's
Yeah.
controlled,
And I agree with
controlled
you. I
opposition.
agree with you.
It's
I agree
controlled
with you because I don't
opposition.
trust the Democrats either.
Right.
Mona, we are out of time. This is a great discussion. I need you to give me a wrap up. And before you do that, it's still too early to call. It's 40. Man, I can't see. Um, it's 51 to 49 with how much, what percentage in? This computer is not giving me what I need to see. Mona, go ahead. Wrap us up.
So I was just thinking about this is why they're not going to destroy Donald Trump on the Republican side. You remember Sarah Palin. They
Yeah.
need these people to come in and excite their base as well. And that's Tea Party.
That's true.
And that's how they base grew. Now, if they take him down, he's taking his people, like you said early before. So he's just the next thing on a bigger level than Sarah Palin. She really motivated the dying
She
party,
did.
which was
She really
the
did.
party.
You're absolutely right about that. Hey guys,
And they
for the social that are listening to us, Trump gets a free pass because he was president. I don't agree with that, but that is true. That it's what happened. That was one of the comments. Alton, real fast. Where can we purchase the book?
Right
Another
now,
comment.
right now it's at Amazon.com. Um, you can visit my page at Amazon.com/author/Alton Drew.
All right, folks. Hey, you guys, great discussion. And Mona, we're going to fix that because you know you got to be all in the discussion going forward. All right. Good night, you guys. Make sure
Night.
we're watching. It's 57% in.
Oh, okay.
Night, everybody.
Good night.